the next video in the series on how to flip a house. This actually is kind of like the prequel to the video I did on construction costs. So if you haven't seen that one, go check it out. But I would recommend actually watching this video first before watching the construction video if you haven't already watched it. Otherwise, not a big deal. You can watch them both. So in this video, we're going to start talking about ARV and how to find it. What is an ARV? Why do we need to know what an ARV is? And we're going to get into how to determine what that is and run through a scenario on the computer using a couple different websites that you have access to as a non-licensed investor, meaning you're not a realtor. If you are a realtor, a real estate agent, you obviously can use the MLS in your area for all of this information. And as an investor, if you're not licensed, you certainly can actually use a realtor to your advantage and gaining this information first and then sourcing it back to them to kind of confirm and then further get detail on what you're trying to figure out to get back to your ARV. So let's get right to it. What is an ARV? All right, ARV stands for after repair value, okay? And the reason you need an ARV when you're looking for a subject property to flip is because you need to determine what you can list the house for once you've done all the construction to the home per your construction budget and you put it on the market for sale. It's just like doing an investor version of an appraisal. And the reason for doing that is you got to stick a sign in the yard to sell it. What's your number going to be? What are you going to sell this house for? You can't just arbitrarily just pull a number out of your you-know-what and figure it out. So you have to determine the after repair value. And in order to do that, you have to understand what a CMA is. And a CMA is a comparable market analysis. And that analysis is what gets you to your ARV in order to determine if that house is going to be the subject property you're going to purchase and flip, or if it's not. Then once you have the ARV, then you can dive into the construction costs and figure out if that number between your purchase price and your sale price with your construction costs is actually going to work, okay? So let's get right into what we're talking about here. So what is a CMA? A CMA is a comparable market analysis, like I said. And if you're not a licensed agent, you could still do this with valuable information on the internet. God bless Google, right? With several different websites. And we'll run through two of those on the computer today, and those two will be Zillow and Redfin. And these two are pretty good websites to gain this type of information. And I'll show you kind of the system that I have in place to use those in order to get this final ARV to determine if this project is going to work, and then when you stick the sign in the yard, you're good to go. Okay. Other websites, by the way, that are good ones are Trulia and Realtor.com. Realtor.com, a lot of times, depending on where you are, can be the public side of some of the MLSs in that area. There's other public sides of MLSs. What I mean by that is any sort of internet where the MLS is available to the agents and to the licensed broker, but there's also a public side people can search for. And in my area, that's coloproperty.com. recolorado.com has a public side. A lot of the MLSs now are allowing the public to jump in on some level to get information. But going back to these two, Zillow and Redfin, these are probably the best two to use in order to get this information and get moving on it. So comparable market analysis is basically determined by pulling two different groups of numbers on houses, on properties in your area, in your zip code, in your neighborhood. And the first thing you need to realize is when you're determining this ARV is there are guidelines that we're going to walk through real quick. And what those guidelines do is allow you to determine from two different types here what the ARV is going to be to work forward. So you don't want to speculate on the ARV. Don't just think you know the neighborhood well enough to say, I think this house is going to sell for X if I do this and this and this to it. If you speculate, it will kill you. You will end up upside down every single time. It's like the worst mistake I would say new, and I've even seen some pretty veteran investors and flippers make that mistake thinking they know more than the market. That's really, really important. So keep that in mind. Do not speculate on your ARV. All right, so in order to get the ARV, like I said, you need to do a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis. And running through these two websites, Zillow and Redfin, what you end up doing is looking for all of the properties that have sold in a certain time frame in that neighborhood. And once you have those all determined, you can find basically an average sold price for that comparable property. And that would be based on very, very specific information. You can also, once you have these, you're going to go and you're going to find your listing comparables as well. Those are the houses that are currently on the market. That's your direct competition for the neighborhood. Keeping in mind, when you do both of these, you have to make sure you're comparing like-kind property. And what I mean by that is, for our example, we're going to, after you run through the computer, we're going to say this is going to be a 4-bedroom and 3-bath, okay, house. We're going to say it's 2,600 finished square feet, okay? Again, that's your square foot number. It's the box, the line through. It's a lazy way of writing it. Don't worry about that. So 2,600 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and this is finished square footage. So if it has a basement and the basement is finished, that's included in this number. Above grade, below grade, it doesn't matter. What you need to find first is the comparable for these two groups based on these numbers. And then you want to get even further into it. Does it have a garage? Make sure if your subject property has a garage, that these sold comps and these listing comps that you're pulling are going to have a garage. And that can be a 1-car, a 2-car, a 3-car. Get it as detailed as possible because you want to go like-kind to like-kind property. If it's a 2-story, don't pull a bunch of comps on ranches that are 1-story. The 2-story will value differently, okay? So you want to make sure it's going to be the same type of property. In this scenario, we'll just call it a 2-story. And go from there. Lot size is another important thing to remember, okay? So you want to know, you have to have lot size. Has to be comparable. A lot of neighborhoods around where I'm at, lot sizes can vary dramatically. They can be as much as an acre property down to like 3,800 square foot lots. And if it's the same type of property otherwise, this lot size could change a value quickly, especially with more rundown, tall and fixer-upper type properties. If it's a lot size where you can expand the property and do a bigger flip, it's important to know what that is. So make sure you're not comparing a 1-acre property to a 3,800 square foot property, right? Other things to think about, you want to make sure that these bathrooms, and you're going to see sometimes they'll say 2.75 or 2.1, or sorry, 2.75, 3.75, 3.25, 3¼ baths. That's just referring to what the size of the bathroom is. So if it just says 4.3 on there, figure out if one of those bathrooms is just a toilet and a sink. That's a 1/4 bath. You want to make sure that these numbers are running very, very detailed and specifically to what's in your subject property. If you have 3 full baths in your property, really try and make sure that the properties that you're pulling on both the sold and the listing comps are going to have those 3 full baths. Master bath, where it's a 5-piece, or not, is a full bath as long as it has a shower and a tub and a sink and a toilet. That determines that's a full bath. If it's just a shower and a sink and a toilet, that's a 3/4 bath, okay? So that's not a full bath. And if it's just a toilet and a sink, like I said, that's a 1/4 bath. So a lot of times Zillow and Redfin will actually have those numbers in there. And you may see a house that says 4-bedroom, 2 3/4 bath. Just keep that stuff in mind. Not always a huge price break, but you want to try and get, again, as detailed as possible. So, just to recap real fast before we jump onto the computer, in order to find your after repair value, and again, do not speculate on this. This is why we're going through this. You have to do a comparable market analysis, and the CMA is determined by, sorry, phones are ringing everywhere. We'll use these 2 websites, Zillow and Redfin specifically, and you want to find sold comps, okay? And all the sold comps that are comparable to your subject property like we discussed, and you also want to have your competition, all the houses that are currently listed in that neighborhood. You want to do the same comparable, and I'll show you it on the computer, with those types of properties. So keep in mind, these 2 numbers have to stay in the same calendar dates too. And I like to start with going 3 months back, okay? So in saying all that really quickly, I know this is a little long-winded, you want to start your comps going 3 months back, okay? 3 months. If you don't have, and I like to do it this way, if you don't have at least 6 comparables from each of these groups, so 6 comps minimum, okay? Then you may have to change this number and go 6 months back. And if you still can't get 6 on each of these, especially, this is more important, the sold comps, because this is determining your actual value that people are willing to spend on this type of property. okay, then go 9 months. If it's dire and you have to go back a full year because there's not much activity in the neighborhood, that may or may not tell you something. So just keep that in mind and even go refer more to a realtor in this scenario. If you have to go back more than 9 months, they need to find out more information on the neighborhood and why stuff isn't selling. And there's different reasons. It's not always bad, but you want to keep that in mind. 6 comps minimum. Definitely you want to have a 6 comp minimum on your sold comps. If you can only have 2 or 3 on the list comps, that's okay. Generally, you want to have something on the market. You want to have some competition. The biggest thing to remember with flipping homes too is you don't want to be the biggest, baddest guy on the block. Meaning, don't be the biggest house and the most expensive house in the neighborhood. And if you have a couple of these listed already, that actually helps. The first guy in usually can get beat up on price pretty hard. So if there is some competition, even if it's 2 to 3 of them, that's good enough. I think in most cases, if you have a short-term window on getting your sold comps, okay? So keeping that all in mind, this will all make more sense as we jump into the computer, and I'll kind of run through both Zillow and Redfin and kind of talk you through how to find that stuff, and we'll go from there. So without further ado.
All right, so let's get into this CMA, and we'll do an example here of that 4-bedroom, 3-bath. We'll start with Zillow, like I was talking about, and then we can run through Redfin. You guys can see both, and we'll go from there. So again, this is for everybody that does not have access to an MLS system and their search criteria. Obviously, if you're a licensed agent, you can use the MLS and don't really need to use Zillow and Redfin, but it does help. Like I said, I actually do balance them out. I just like to have as many sources as possible. So here we are, Zillow.com. We're going to be looking at comps, starting with the sold comps for, we'll just pick this zip code for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And like I said, we want to have it as recent as possible. So I like to start with, 3 months back. And if you don't get anything or you don't get enough good information from that, you can go back further, but that would actually tell you something as well. So keep that in mind. So at the top on Zillow, you got your zip code up here on the top left, and then right here next to it is sold, right? So you can click on for sale, for rent, or sold. Like I said, we're going to start with sold. And then we're going to go with, we're looking for price. That's what we're doing with our CMAs to build the after repair value, our ARV. So we're going to leave that alone. We're going to select a 4-bedroom. And you can do 2+ for a 4-3, but you can start here and see where you get 3+ bed or bathrooms, and then just see if it'll pull up enough for you. Hit done. And then you can see our perimeter. So everything in the 80026 area code that's been sold. Recent homes, and this is going to be newest to oldest. I have 425 results. So you want to go through these, and as you're going through them, kind of keep in mind if you're trying to do just a strictly 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a basement, you want to make sure you're grabbing just those. Since I have so many results here, it's important to kind of go through and look for the extra criteria. 2-car garage. If it has a 3-car, that's okay, but you want to try and keep as close to your subject property as possible. So, for example, this is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,400 square feet. Again, we're using that 2,600-ish square foot example, and that's finished square foot that we're looking for. So that would include a finished basement. It can be all above grade. Basements in this area, at least, we have a lot of them. We can build basements everywhere. So that can be finished or unfinished. You want to keep in mind you're looking for finished square foot in the realm of 2,600 square feet. You want to stick with that. Unless you have really minimal results, you want to get as close to and as tight to your subject property as possible. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to skip this next one. So if you can see, these are all 4-bed, and there's more than that. Here's one at 4-bed, 3-bath. It looks like this one is this is a townhome. So we're going to skip that. That's an attached dwelling. I don't want to touch that right now. It's a completely different property. We're looking strictly for detached single family. 4-bed, 4-bath, 4-bed, 4-bath. So a lot of these are coming up 4-bed, 4-bath or more. So I might need to change my criteria, but here's a good one right here. It's on Westward Drive. This one sold, and they'll show you the sold date. So a few months back, that's actually within the 3-month criteria. I'm going to click on this. and this is going to give us some information on the property and some pictures, obviously. So we can look through here. First thing I want to do is look at the pictures. I want to see if this is a house that is in really good condition or has recently been flipped and sold. You can tell the more you look through these things if it has been recently flipped. For example, I can tell you right now this is just in good condition, but you can tell by the cabinetry, the flooring, um, the furniture. I mean, I don't want to be judgmental, but in these cases you kind of have to be. I'm going to guess this is probably an older couple. Maybe they have grown kids or kids in college, but none of this has been updated at some point since the house was built, but it's been a while, and it definitely is not a flip because there's nothing recent and there's nothing modern and new about it yet. It looks like they've done some pretty nice work on the landscaping in the backyard, fire pit. The lot actually looks pretty big. This is in a area called Blue Heron, so it's a gated community, sort of. It used to be really gated. Now it just has a gate you drive through. But again, I'm familiar with this neighborhood, so I want to keep going on this one. This is probably going to be a pretty good comp based on the area. It'll show you similar sales in the area. You want to make sure you know your neighborhood. So when you're looking at these other addresses, you can tell if they're within, that criteria of your radius for mileage. You don't want to get more than like 2 to 3 miles away from your subject property either. And again, that depends on where you live or where you're doing your property. I mean, if there's more sprawl, you might be able to stretch it out, but in more densely populated areas or areas where neighborhood to neighborhood, it's going to change dramatically in price based on how the houses were built, sizes of houses, construction, all that. You want to be really, really detailed and really understand your area. So this is actually a pretty good comp based on our pretend example. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to make sure I have this address. It's got a 4-bed, 3-bath. Again, this square foot's pretty big, so we want to check on. I'm going to keep it only because of this so far. We want to check on all of the features on the interior. So I can click on this actually. And this will tell me if it's a finished basement usually. If it's not, then you may have to actually go take a peek, or you might have to pull it up in your county assessor website as well. So there's some information for it. Home expenses. Sometimes this is weird stuff in here. It doesn't tell me anything here. Yeah. Tax history sometimes is a good thing to look at. You can actually see when it sold, what it was listed for originally, how long it was on the market. That's all good information for your subject property as well. So you want to make sure you have all this information when you keep one of these. All right. So there's example one. It's not bad. I'm going to keep looking. I can find a better one, I know. Here's one that's actually perfect. This is 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,900 square feet, $429. Now I want to know why this is a lower price, so I'm going to definitely click on this. It's sold again in the same 3-month realm. That's our time frame we're looking at. This is estimate range. Again, Zillow has gotten better with their kind of estimates and their appraisals, quote unquote. They used to be all over the map, but usually these are a lot more reined in now, so they're going to be a little more accurate. So again, we're going to look through these pictures. First thing I want to do, it looks like some work has been done at some point, although I'm not happy with what they've done. That's a really funky floor. New appliances are in here, I can tell you that. They went with the stainless corporate standard stuff. It looks like off-the-shelf cabinets, maybe even a Corian countertop have been put in here. There's been new paint. I can tell just by my experience and looking through a bunch of these that some stuff's been done. Now, upstairs, definitely nothing's been done. It's just a really nice property. We got carpet in the bathroom. That's gross. But these houses, I just know because the area were built and they all put carpet in here. Production home builder figured that was super cheap and fast. So many wrong reasons for this, but again, I just can tell from that picture that that hasn't been updated. So this is all original upstairs, and that's the master bathroom. Looks like a 5-piece. Keep going through here. This is obviously a vacant home. At least it was obviously when it was sold, so that's easier to sell. That doesn't tell me it was a flip though. I just think they are probably downsizing maybe based on the fact that they bought this home a while ago. And I can tell again by what they have in here. That's weird. It's doing that. So go back to this. I'm going to keep this one. This is the only problem with Zillow is sometimes it throws you in some weird formats where you can't get all of sorry, I was looking at neighborhood details, all of the information you want in the same format. So they're saying this is a sold. So it sold for 429. And again, I mean, even the Zillow estimate is 436.4. I would think this home would be even more, but it's really just based on the area that it's in. This is almost outside our little pretend model here as far as location. Good information to have. This is something, again, you'd have to kind of dig on the assessor website, maybe try and contact a realtor, see if they can give you some more information. Again, this is why you want to be in connection with realtors, especially if you're thinking about getting your license. They can pull this up in the MLS system and tell you a lot more information than what Zillow's reporting right here. They don't have as much information on this, only because they probably didn't dig as much out from the MLS or the assessor yet. So, yeah, let's just close this one. All right, so that's not bad. I still would want to know why this is a lower price. 4-bed, 5-bath, 4-bed, for the 4-bed, 3-bath, 500. This was sold last year, so now we're kind of outside our 3-month zone here. But I'm gonna walk through these pictures. This was an occupied home. Looks like some work was done. Now I can tell you, if I keep going, if there wasn't furniture in here that's kind of sitting around, TVs and stuff, this might have been a flip just based on the awkwardness of it. No offense to some of the flippers out there. However, because of the furniture, the stuff sitting in here, they were just basically keeping the home clean to show it. So, this wouldn't be showing furniture. This is someone was living here at the time of sale. So again, not a flip. Looks like he got a real good deal on some reclaimed lumber and went to town throughout the house on it, or she. They love their barn. Some of that stuff's pretty cool. Some work's been done to sell it. Obviously, some of this stuff is original. And again, I can tell you it wasn't a flip because of that, but they did some work in order to sell it. And I say some, most of it was just some of this reclaimed barn wood. Looks like they built a door, a barn door, and some other stuff. New appliances. And again, we're going 4-bed, 3-bath, 2183 square feet, and it sold for 500,000 on the dot. So this is another good one. I would keep this. I'd write it down. I'd have this in my spreadsheet for one of my sold comps. All right, so that's kind of the examples of how to run through some of those. Now you want to go back. And again, you want to make sure you have 6 to 8 of those solid on the sold side in your area. And again, you want to go no more than 2 to 3 miles away from your subject property. So you want to understand your neighborhood so you know where you're looking for. That way you can scroll through these quickly and see addresses and go, all right, I know this is outside kind of my radius. But if you get confused or you're not sure, that's what all these dots are for. Okay, so if you click on one of these and that's the address, you can come back in here and find it and click on one of those dots. And if you want to zoom in, you can do that. See how you can pull those a little bit easier. And then find that house. If you're not sure if it's within that radius, you can easily tell from your subject property where it's actually located. So keep that in mind. It's a good tool to use. So now I want to go all the stuff that's for sale. I want to see what are people trying to get for these things now in the same radius. And that's going to help me once I get through all of my sold comps and find kind of that median price and work it backwards from there. And then now I can go, what is the most recent house, going to sell for? And that's going to give you an idea based on the 4 sales here. And again, you're doing the same thing you'd be doing with, sorry, I'm looking at there's 9 results here. So you're doing the same thing you'd be looking at on the sold comps. And since I only have 9 for sale in that area right now, it is kind of it's not much is going on the market right now. We're all hunkered down and shelter in place. So what is for sale is going to be tough to show for this example, but normally I would probably have a few more in here. And again, you want to stick as close to your model as possible. So I see 4-bed, 4-bath, 2,800 square feet. That's pretty close. That's in the area. I'm going to keep going and come back to that. Since I only have 9, it's not going to take me long to kind of scroll through here. That's 3,200. That's a pretty big home. I know this is actually a different neighborhood, and they're going to go for a little bit more money. Here's a 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,600 square feet. This is on County Court, which is not that far away. Now, it also tells you price cut. So you can see they dropped this thing by $50K on March 27th. In a normal market, I would be a little more concerned by that because that means they were right around 700,000 for the sale. This market, I think they're just because they can't really show the home. They're just trying to suck somebody in on just basically trying to get under contract without an actual viewing of the home and try and get a contract moving in a really weird coronavirus time. In normal conditions, I would take that into account more than I would right now. But this is a good list comp. So 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,600 feet. That's pretty close to what our subject property is at the 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,662 square feet. So it's really tight. Zillow's got it estimated at this price now. You can see right here his estimate, 649,705. They're right on the ball as far as Zillow is concerned. Take that with a grain of salt again. And then we're going to run through all the information we can get off of this exact listing. So they did price change, like I said, on March 27th right here. Last sold was 2012. Okay, so they've been there 8 years. And so I'm going to keep looking through these pictures. Nice back porch. Looks like we got composite decking at some point got put in here. Looks like that's almost like carriage house. It's hard to tell. They've updated the kitchen. These are newer cabinets. This is looks like a quartz product, quartzite of some sort. Original floors. That's the original tile. I only know that because I know the neighborhood. But again, this is a nicely conditioned red oak flooring. But this is dated. You don't see a lot of this in newer homes or anything that's being built or remodeled. People are just, this is something from the 90s. Not as much going on. Not that I have anything against red oak, but that just kind of tells me the date. Looks like they might have done some patching in here on the floors. Again, you might want to go look at this one if possible because it's on the market. These are the advantages of having the for sale ones. You can schedule showings with an agent or just call the listing agent and they'll let you in to come look at it and you can walk it to kind of get an idea of what they did. Again, new kitchen, new appliances, so tops, cabs, appliances are all new at some point, pretty new. This looks like a vacant home. Again, here you go, carpet in the bedroom, so they haven't done anything in the bedrooms, although that looks like a new top, countertop. This is all original. You got that, brass finish carpet in the bedroom. Man, I can't believe they did that in these houses. It's so disappointing. Kind of weird. There's not much upstairs, no beds or anything, but then they've got some awkward staged furniture, but there's a piano in here. I don't know. This could or could not be vacant. Again, you can ask those questions when you call the listing agent. This looks like the basement is finished. Yep. This is right on the golf course, so Indian Peaks is a really nice area. A lot of these houses sit literally on one of the holes of the golf course. Wanaka Lake Park, again, knowing the area, that's not that close, but I mean, a long walk will get you there, and the trail system would get you there too. So, really awesome location. I would say this house is probably priced pretty aggressively for the location. And I think, again, really more than anything, it just has to do with the sign of the times right now with our shelter in place. So, anyway, that's kind of how you do both ends of the CMA to put together. And again, you want to try and get at least 6 listings if you can't. And this is all just within one zip code. So there's not as many listed right now because of the coronavirus, but I usually would have probably a few more. If not, then you're running off as many sold comps as you can get, which are more what I stand by, and then you want to get the list comps to see maybe what you can push the house, the ARV list price to, if possible, because this is your competition. So hopefully that makes sense. Run over to Redfin real quick. It's kind of the same idea, and it's just really you're just pulling in more. I don't want that. You're just pulling in more of the. I knew I was gonna do that. Sorry, guys, stand by. Clearly, I can't type and talk. Get out of there. All right, so same thing. I'm gonna type in my zip code. If I can type, jeez. So now it's going to pull the same thing up. And then we're going to go in and pull the same kind of scenario. All right, so here's my zip code again. We're working with the same subject property. Redfin's just a little bit different on this end of it over here on the right as far as how you find your listing comps and your sold comps. Again, you're going to have the same map of the area. And again, we're at 80026. So first thing I want to do on Redfin is start the same way I did with Zillow. I want to have all the sold comps on. So you go over here where it says listing status, click for sale off, automatically will pull up for sold, or sorry, for sold. Sold will come on, last 3 months, and then I can go in here and enter more information. We'll go to like 2750 on the square foot. I'm not going to worry about any of the years built. Amenities, we're going to say yes, it has to have a garage because that's really what we're looking for. That's part of our value on that subject property. And we're going to click on just homes. We don't want multifamily. We're not looking for just land. These are strictly detached single family. And then we're going to go to max on the bedrooms of, we're going to say tight with 5 for now. And then minimum, let's go to 2 bedrooms for now and just see what comes up, because I know some of these may not be quite as popular on Redfin. So I'm going to hit apply filters. And again, same thing, all these houses will get pulled up here. This is showing 33 sold in my criteria on Redfin, okay? We did actually see this one on Zillow as well. And again, March 13th, that's super, that's a couple weeks ago. That's really, really recent. 4-bed, 3.5 bath, 2392. This is a great comp for us to look at. So again, you're going to have all your details right up here. Lot size, when it was sold, when it was built. It's going to give a description. Here's all your facts, just like it was at the top. So they have a 3D walkthrough. I'm going to skip that for now. But you want to kind of look at those pictures again to see what information you're going to get from it. And then you get all your details down here. So again, they're going to have their own estimated sale price. Obviously, that doesn't matter because it's a sold home. And it's sold for $689.9. Okay, so there's a good comp for. That's a nice blue garage door. Lovely. Anyway, you can click on this for photos. Whoops. Sometimes it does that. But it looks like they have a walkthrough as well. So you want to scroll through all those pictures as well, although it's saying only one on here. When you click on photos and it does that, it just tells you they didn't stick any photos on there. Redfin either didn't pull them or it wasn't offered. Based on the condition of the home from the outside, I don't think it was updated on any level. We'll do one more real quick. 3-bed, 2-bath, that's pretty small at 1,100 feet. That's not going to fit our comp. 3-bed, 2.5, 1,700, it's still a little small. 5, 3, 4, 2 and 3/4 bath. This is be close except for the fact it's a 1 level. And it's only 1,500, it's like 1,600 square feet finished. So that's not going to work for us. 3-bed, 3-bath. So Redfin's pulling up some different ones in the same criteria, if you guys have noticed as we've kind of gone through this. I still like Zillow more for kind of the information you're digging through, but it is good to compare with Redfin for the access that you guys will have as unlicensed investors. Again, make friends with agents, because you can call any of the stuff you find here, call them and ask them to dig for you. If you're working with somebody on your investments and they're looking for homes, you're building your own CMA, you want to have this information in front of you. That way, if they need to go, you need to go look at something with them, or if they need to pull some more information off the MLS, they can do that for you. Again, I'm more than happy to do that depending on the area, but I don't have access to anything but Colorado. So unfortunately, I'd have to either pass you on to somebody I know in another state, or you can hit up Mr. Answers and Lending Tips as well, or any of your buddies. Everybody knows a realtor in this day and age for sure. So 4-bed, 4-bath, 2192. This is a odd house, but it was sold March 6th. I'm going to go in here, just take a quick peek for a second example. 1 more bath doesn't necessarily bring it up a lot anyway. Anna's Farm, I'm very familiar with this area. So again, information. Here's your lot size. The lots over there are much smaller, so keep that in mind. Again, one other thing I forgot to mention earlier is when you're doing your CMAs, pay attention to whether the subject property is in an HOA or not, because that can change. This is going to change the price of someone's mortgage on the back end, which is pretty important. And you want to understand what these dues pay for. So this is $102 a month. And in Anna's farm, I'm not really sure exactly what they do other than some common area landscaping and maintenance, snow removal in the winter. But that's pretty steep. Two full, two partial. I'm gonna make sure this is not a no, it's not single, it's detached single family. But that's just something to keep in mind because some of these properties and some of these neighborhoods you're looking at are not going to have an HOA and some will. So that's gonna kind of change the scenario as far as your CMA too. So pay attention to when you look at those. If it has an HOA, how much is it? And then try and get some information, especially on your subject property, as to what the HOA pays for, because that's going to be asked when you get that house listed too. So again, same thing. You can kind of play around with this, but this is the same idea. It gives you some decent information on values as they increase. Zillow does the same thing. You want to run through all of that. And then obviously look at pictures to see. And all of this stuff is at the very top on those clicks. So on the right up here, I'll show you real quick. Come on. Everything up here. Okay. Property history, that just gives you like sold facts, when the last time it was sold, usually. Sometimes it's not accurate. Again, check the assessor. Every municipality, every county has one of those. It's all public information. You want to have as much of that at your fingertips as possible. Okay, so all the stuff for these properties is in here. And just gather as much information on as many properties as you can. If you cannot get 6 for each side of this, for the solds and the listings, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes you may have to go, like I said, further back. Sometimes that's just all you're going to get. If you go back further than like 6 months, at least in my markets, that's kind of pushing it. I can go back a 1 year sometimes, depending on the neighborhood, and I can still get pretty decent numbers. But again, I have access to MLS too, so I can kind of compare that and bounce those numbers off of the MLS as well. But keep that in mind. You want to be as recent as possible. Start with 3 months. Back it out to 6 months if you have to. If you go back 9 months, you may still be okay. If you're pushing a year, you might want to reconsider looking at this neighborhood, unless it's a really up and coming neighborhood. And then you really, really, really should get the information from a realtor, because they're going to give you harder numbers for your ARV. And then you can know what you need to be paying for the house on the front end and back out your construction costs from there. So that's it, guys. That's how you go about using Zillow and Redfin to kind of put together your CMA and build your ARV values. And again, that backs you into starting running your construction costs. So this video really should have come out before the construction costs, but now you have 2 pieces of information at your fingertips to watch. Hopefully that helps. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Leave comments, questions below. Please subscribe and hit the bell. I appreciate all of the love out here, and I will be doing more of these videos. If you got anything you really haven't gotten information on, or if I haven't answered any questions yet, hit me up. Leave the comments below. Let me know. Again, I appreciate it. Appreciate the support, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.